all been there when you hit up your favorite industry producer, and no matter what you say, you can't get them to answer your DMs. This can make networking incredibly frustrating, and a lot of times you'll stop before you even truly start. But in this video, we're gonna go over my exact strategy that I've used to get 50 to 60% of industry producers to answer my DMs. So make sure to stick around till the end, because this system's actually gotten me 31 major placements in the last 2 years. I want to start this video off with the most common mistakes I see producers make when they first start networking. This isn't me picking on anyone, but the reality is most producers just aren't that good at networking, especially when you first start out. You just copy what everyone else is doing, and most of the time what everyone else is doing doesn't work because it's just too saturated. And the most common mistake I see is producers all sending the same DM. We've all seen the "where can I send loops" message, and even I've been guilty of doing this when I first started out. There's not necessarily a problem with this message, but it's the way the message comes off to the person that's receiving it. Speaking from experience, now that I actually do have my own opportunities, I see this message a lot, and every time I think this person just wants my opportunities, they don't want to provide value to my life, to my business, or the actual music I'm making. And honestly, it's just unprofessional. You might be thinking, well, I am providing value because I'm sending you samples, but the reality is all of these industry producers get flooded with samples every single day. It's honestly the last thing that they need. If they really did need samples, they could just go to their DMs, because there's 100 producers in there asking to send them samples. If you look at it from that lens, then you can begin to see why industry producers aren't opening your DMs. You don't stand out from the crowd, and what you're actually offering to them, they don't even need. You could have the best, most unique samples out there, but it's not gonna matter if you're sending the same exact DM as everyone else. So how do we go about fixing this? We need to find a way to give them something that they actually want. And keep in mind, no matter what you give them, it has to be for free. If you charge for a service or your opportunities, then they're just gonna delete your message and it will be in the same spot as we first started off in. Some examples of what you might offer could be your own opportunities to artists, managers, or even other big producers out there. You could offer free graphic design, free video edits, or even custom samples just for them in their opportunities. All of these things will make you instantly stand out from everyone else, and I can almost guarantee that they're at least gonna read the message. Whether or not they actually need what you're providing is a different story, but your chances of them replying will go up tremendously if they actually read the message you sent. Ultimately, the most valuable thing you can give to another industry producer is more opportunities, and that's what I offer personally. Obviously, if you don't have those opportunities, then you have to offer something else. But your goal should be working towards getting these opportunities for yourself that you can offer to other producers while networking. I will say that getting opportunities and connections in the beginning can be very, very hard, because you have to do several free video edits, graphic design, or free custom samples to even get these opportunities for yourself. And there's really no way around putting in that work. You have to do it in the beginning to get these opportunities, so that eventually you can break out of that and start offering your own opportunities, and you don't have to do all that hard work all the time. The only other ways is if you're very good at persuading, or if you wanted to pay for those collabs yourself. But the goal of networking is getting familiar with another producer so that they use your stuff for a long time and not just a one-off collab. So I'd highly suggest using these strategies that I'm going to talk about later in the video and just pushing through it, doing the hard work to get those connections. The next mistake is a very simple one, but not a lot of people actually think about it. And this has to do with how professional your profile looks. If someone opens your message and they're thinking about responding, but then they go to your profile and it's very unprofessional, then the chances of them responding basically go out the window, no matter how good the message is. First, they're going to check who you've worked with, they're going to check your followers, and your actual profile picture does help a lot. All of these things matter even if you don't think they do. There's been so many times where I've thought about responding to another producer, but then I go to their profile and they haven't posted in the last 6 months. They just have a blank profile picture and they post those simple beat previews that everyone else posts. Immediately, that tells me that producer doesn't care enough to post content every day, or to at least make their account look professional. So why should I take them seriously and work with them? Obviously, this video is not about optimizing your social media profiles. There's plenty of great videos about that out there, but this is probably number 2 on the list for the most important things you need to be successful while networking. The last 2 mistakes won't kill your success entirely, but your message open rates could be significantly higher if you do these things right. So most producers think that they should only network on Instagram because that's where everyone is. But in reality, everyone has multiple social medias, an email, a phone number, a manager, or other close people that work with them. And everyone has a preference of which social media they prefer to use every day. So for example, instead of just hitting up Tay Keith on Instagram, you could take the time to message him on every single different social platform, or you could even even find out who his manager is and hit them up on every single platform as well. He'd be 10 times more likely to respond on a platform that he doesn't get many messages from. And who knows, maybe Twitter is the social media that he uses the most, and if you message him there on a good day, he might actually respond. I'd highly suggest doing this method with big producers especially, and if you have the time to do it with smaller producers that do have connections as well, then your open rates will be much higher. You'll get a lot more connections that way. Yes, this is a lot of work to do it like that, but keep in mind, if you're willing to do the work that other people aren't, and you're really trying to get placements for the first time, or you're really trying to make an established network to go full-time as a producer, this is the work and the effort that's required to get there. The last mistake I see is just spamming people, spamming industry producers, trying to get them to answer your DMs by sending multiple messages. And I don't know why I have to say this isn't a good idea, but it's not. The reality is more bad things can happen than good things when you do this. Your profile can get reported, they can block you, and all producers talk to other producers and they can mention you in a group. So if you're spamming industry producers, more than likely things aren't going to go the right way for you. Before we go over the exact system I use to get 50 to 60% of industry producers to answer my DMs, I want to talk about some of the most underrated ways of getting connections without having to do the actual work yourself. I'm talking about getting producers to hit you up instead. Yes, this does mean making content every single day and building a brand so that you can get your name and face out there so that people trust you more. I know some of you guys watching don't want to do this, but just hear me out. Ever since I started posting content daily in January, I've had all kinds of opportunities open up for me. Organic sales have gone up, producers hit me up directly for more information, and that leads to paid consultations. And of course, producers with connections hit me up, and now I work with them all the time. So I can say that this stuff works even with a relatively small audience over a small period of time. If you post content and make great music, then you'll get people to hit you up. And obviously there are a lot of benefits that can come with that. I personally went down the road of making educational producer content, talking about how to run ads as a producer, and a ton of useful business information to help producers make more money. And I still had industry producers hitting me up even when I made that type of content because they wanted to learn how to monetize their audience. So the more value you can provide in multiple different ways, the better. And all industry producers are very active on social media, no matter what type of content you create. The next best step in the progression is actually running paid ads. You can do this for your kits, for your courses, or even for just brand awareness. I've heard so many stories of big producers hitting up smaller producers that run ads, and now those big producers actually work with them.
Music out everywhere you can online is one of the best ways that I've found to get placements. My two biggest placements, Beautiful by Future and SZA and Beat the Odds by Lil TJ, both came from me putting my music out relentlessly online. My song with Future came from a sample pack ad that TM88 saw, and my song with Lil TJ came from one of my loop kits that a producer flipped, posted as a type beat, and TJ later found and recorded on.
Which is pretty crazy. You can literally make money from your ads and at the same time get brand recognition and get these producers to hit you up. If you run ads for a long enough time, your face and your brand's gonna be shown to thousands of producers that you want to work with. I would actually recommend messaging those same industry producers that might have not responded the first time. Once you start running ads and content and get your face out there, when you hit them up again, they might actually respond because they know who you are now. This is a very huge benefit of making producer content, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. But the main point I want to get across is that your videos are going to help build trust over time. It'll help build trust to get people to buy from you, and it'll also help build trust to get people to work with you. And for those reasons alone, I think it's 100% worth it to make content. Real quick, I wanted to let you guys know that I just started out my weekly sample list again for anyone that would want to join. I'm sending out 3 to 4 new samples every single day. You get full-time access to over 700 premium samples in a folder, and best of all, you can send back collab beats to my email for my very own placement opportunities for completely free if you're on the list. You don't have to pay $300 for a one-time collab that never goes anywhere again, and you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for multiple sample packs anymore. You'll get everything you need if you're on the list. So if you're interested and you want to join, then you can hit me up on Instagram. Just DM me the word weeklies. My Instagram is @prod._camj. As promised, we're going to be going over the exact strategy that not only gets producers to open my DMs, but to get them to work with me going forward for a long time. So we're going to start from the very beginning. Where do I find producers that have up-to-date or relevant connections? I always go to genius.com to find these producers. You search up any artist you want, you go to their most recent albums, and scroll down to where it says producers, or engineers. It's actually going to give you an exact list of every producer or engineer that worked on that specific album, so you know for a fact they have relevant opportunities. Most of the time you can just search up their name on Instagram and they'll pop up, but if you don't find their name, just click on their name on Genius and it's going to show you their exact social media account and you can hit them up that way. Now it's time to message them, and obviously this is the most important step. Hopefully by now you took my advice, you cleaned up your profile, you started to post content, because trust me, it's all going to help tremendously with this step. My goal with the first message is to always blow the person away with free value. This is the exact script that I use. What's good? Insert name. I really mess with your work. If you're down to lock in, I have opportunities for you. Then you just list out the opportunities that you have. You can absolutely change this to make it fit your brand, but for the most part, keep it very simple and super easy to understand. Like I said, I get 50 to 60% of industry producers respond to this message, because who doesn't want free opportunities? Unfortunately, even with this message, it doesn't get a lot of the top producers to answer. All those guys already have all the connections that they need. So I'd arguing that offering free services to those people, like free graphic design and video edits, would get a higher response rate than offering your opportunities. So if you wanted to try that out, let me know how that works. Like I mentioned, if you don't have opportunities, there's still a ton of things that you could offer to these people to actually get them to respond. Just be creative. Now that the door is open, it's so much easier to get their email. And because we're giving away our opportunities, we actually have all of the leverage in this situation. They answered, so clearly they're interested in what you have to offer, and they're not going to want a chance potentially messing up free placement opportunities by not giving you their email. So now we just have to shift the conversation towards that direction. Normally they're going to say, of course, let's work, and they're going to ask what you would need from them. And I usually say this: I'm mainly a sample maker, so I don't mess with the drums a lot. I don't have a lot of time to make beats, so if you could lay down the drums on my samples and send them back, that would be a huge help. Of course they're going to say yes to this, and pretty much right away they're going to send you their email so you can send those samples out. Worst case scenario, if they don't do drums either, you could tell them that you have starters for them as well for those opportunities. Overall, this system has worked insanely well, and it's gotten me hundreds of industry producer emails. I have one more sneaky bonus strategy that I've used and almost no one is using to get more connections, so I figured I'd bring that up now. If the producer you're trying to hit up has a sample or kit store, just buy a kit from their site, make a few collab beats, and make a few collab beats with their pack. From there, you can DM them and let them know you bought their kit, or you can also shout out their sounds in an Instagram story and make sure to tag them. Naturally, any human that runs a business is going to respond to these messages and say thank you for buying something from them. At this point, you can ask for their email to send back those collab beats, and most of the time they're going to say yes, because you just spent money with them. Yes, this will cost you something, but if you're going to get new sounds anyways, then you might as well get them with intention and try out the strategy for yourself. One thing that I didn't like about this strategy at first was the fact that it seemed like it took all of the relationship building out of networking, because you honestly get their email so fast within the first couple of messages, but there's still plenty of ways you can build that relationship over time. Anytime you see that person post, just make sure to like and comment their post, maybe even share it. If you see them in a Discord group or communities, then obviously try to have a conversation with them. And the most slept on way to nurture a relationship over time, just make a spreadsheet and make sure to hit them up once a month to see how they're doing. It might seem good on paper to get hundreds of producer emails and never talk to them again, but real talk, if they forget about you, who you are, and the samples you're sending, then they're not going to use your stuff going forward. And if you do all this work to get the connections in the first place, then that would be pretty devastating. So depending on how much time you have, I'd much rather hit up a smaller subset of industry producers that you know you can nurture their relationships and constantly hit them up. If you do this right, people are going to hit you up when they have opportunities in the future, because you did the same thing for them at the start of the relationship. And just to clear things up, you absolutely have to fulfill your promise of sharing your opportunities with them, because if you don't keep that promise, I can 100% guarantee that they're not going to work with you going forward. Lastly, we want to stay on top of their mind with social presence. This means posting content daily, posting stories, adding them to your email list and targeting them that way, and of course sending them samples every single day. If these people see you everywhere, you're always going to stay top of mind for any future opportunities that they have. This video was super tactical on how to get producers to open your DMs so that they can start working with you. With that being said, this video was more so aimed for sample makers. If you're a beat maker and you're looking for tactical strategies on how to land placements yourself, then check out this video where I talk about how I landed 31 major placements in just 2 years time and all the strategies that I used to accomplish that.